Hello! Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Fantasy Grounds Fridays. Today, I'm joined by Leyrun from the Fantasy Grounds Academy. So why don't you go ahead and say hello and introduce yourself?
Hey folks, this is my name's Aaron, but you know me as Leyrun on the Fantasy Grounds Academy Discord and throughout the community. Nice to meet you. Happy Friday, and hopefully we have some interesting topics for you today.
And I do want to remind everyone that at any time during the show, you can ask questions. There are two main ways of doing that. You can just drop questions down into the chat, or you can click on the little dice button, and in there's an ask a question button where you can click on that and get your questions asked. Hello, Evo. Hello, Uncle Floyd. And I do just want to quickly address another Elvis on YouTube. You asked about OGL. We will not be talking about OGL stuff today. That is a topic that is much bigger than this show, and also something that we don't feel like we have anything to add to the discussion that hasn't already been said. But to answer your question, yes, your 5e stuff that you own will still work and it will still be on your account. You can go check the Fantasy Grounds forums where Doug Davison, CEO of Smiteworks, has made a statement on it. Actually made two statements on it. So you can go check those out, and but yeah, your 5e stuff is fine for now. And hello, Jimmy Fett. Doug equals the bomb. Would you agree? That's the first question. Would you agree Doug equals the bomb? Bear in mind he might be watching.
I think Doug's a pretty fair guy. He's a straight shooter. I mean, I've only been mad at him maybe once. And that was something stupid that I probably did myself. So,
oh no.
But yeah, I haven't had any issues with Doug. He's pretty fair.
Yeah. All right. So I know that we had you on last year in the springtime, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But how about you just give us another introduction to the FGA and what you provide over there? Just because I know that we have some newer viewers in that last year that maybe don't even know that the FGA exists somehow.
Okay, sure. So the elevator pitch is that we're basically a fan club that really tries to help with Fantasy Grounds platform. We started off with just character creation, and then it kind of evolved into everything to do with Fantasy Grounds. We're not directly affiliated with Smiteworks, but we have a pretty good working relationship with them, and we do have kind of our own thing, but we also try to work with them and make sure that we're not doing anything too crazy. But generally what we do is we try to inspire people, and we also try to give them examples of how to use the platform. We hold events occasionally. We have volunteers that from all over the world that try to volunteer their time to take a group of people step by step through the platform. So we have that available. And we also we do a lot of social media and online content now. And then we're also always working on rule set diversity. So, we started off with a lot of D&D type stuff, but now we've really been trying to recruit for more like 2D20 systems, Pathfinder. Right now we're doing a Traveler Month, which is essentially a feature month for that particular rule set and for Mongoose Publishing. And we actually have an event coming up on the 31st at, I think it's 8 p.m. UTC. And it's essentially a show regarding the publishers and the developers and that sort of thing. So that's really what we're about. We want to showcase Fantasy Grounds mostly. We do teach a little bit on the rule sets because that kind of comes along with the territory. It also comes along with people what they know and what content they have access to.
Yeah.
We've had requests for people to we need Pathfinder or I need this or that. What really comes down to in the case of our community is the volunteer base. So there's some people who don't have the content, and the people that do may not have the same schedule. So it's a little tricky on getting one-on-one and actual face-to-face. But the videos help a little, even if you're not using D&D or something. A lot of that stuff translates over, and if you start looking at what things are similar in Fantasy Grounds, you'll get it sooner. Because a lot of people won't compartmentalize it. They said, "Oh, this is only for Pathfinder, and this is only for D&D, and this is only for this rule set." But really, when you really look at Fantasy Grounds top down, when you really look at it, it's a lot of it's the same. I mean, it might be labeled differently, things might be placed a little bit different on that sidebar, but all in all, it kind of works the same. So once you understand how it functions, then you can focus on how the rule set actually interfaces with the platform. And that's where the rubber meets the road. That's what takes time. And that's difficult to teach because it's something that is translated and deciphered differently from each person. And some people don't want videos, and other people want hands-on, and then some people just want to read. So there's different types of learning too. So that's really what we're about in the Fantasy Grounds Academy, is providing you with resources. We don't want to tell you how to use the program necessarily, but we hope to inspire you to utilize the power of the platform. It's got a lot of bells, balloons, and whistles that we can't even possibly cover in one show or one document, or there's so many different things, and then each rule set has its own little unique things too. So that's really what we're about. We're just a fan club that tries to help people with the platform. That's really what we are. I mean, there's nothing fancy about it. It's just and
no, but you do a lot of great stuff. I know that when I was starting out with Fantasy Grounds way back when, I'd seen a couple of stuff from you guys, and it really helped get my wheels turning and got me on the road to running my stream with 5e and with Fantasy Grounds up until now. We run it here.
Yeah, we're not know-it-alls. I mean, we don't know everything. And there's stuff that we're learning and stuff we're not that great at. And, as far as content goes, I'm just kind of a volunteer. I don't have a professional editor and this special fancy equipment, although I have upgraded a little bit. I mean, I don't have a big budget for that kind of stuff or the time to edit videos. So you know what that's like, sure.
Yes,
so
I do.
Video editing is not fun.
I disagree. I love video editing, but it is time consuming.
Yeah, exactly. So for every hour of video, it's like 3 hours of editing. It depends on what you're doing too. But
it does depend. But so I'm a film major, and my specialty was in editing and post. So that is where my love is. But it is a very, very time consuming thing, and if you're not getting paid to do it, it really does. It really is hard to keep that up. So really,
it's hard to justify it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's hard to justify it. The other thing is, I noticed that you're doing your own side projects, and they could really segue into your gaming. I seen like this recent vampire shot that you yeah, that was really cool actually. It looked pretty nice.
Well, thank you for that. I did all that makeup myself, and it was very good.
My only criticism on that photo is it needs more Vaseline. Meaning the skin texture on the mask or whatever you were using.
Yeah.
But other than
he wasn't wet and gross enough.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
He looked too dry and like paper like almost.
All right. Next time I will slather the model in Vaseline. I'm sure he will love that.
Yeah, I was looking at that. I go, man, this is really cool. I almost want to use it in like a Curse of Strahd thing, or maybe even a modern vampire game.
Well, that was we're off topic from Fantasy Grounds, but that was my first thought was, how do I get this kid, being my model, into Vampire the Masquerade so I can do this makeup on him for a show?
Cool.
Because he looked like a Vampire the Masquerade Nosferatu.
Yes, it did. I think that it's neat when you can tie in your other hobbies and your profession into using like Fantasy Grounds or just any role playing game.
Yeah, just tie it into your personal tie your gaming life into the rest of your life.
Because it's like you're developing assets for one or the other, and it kind of segues into each other. So if you're going to spend all this time on video editing, why not use a couple clips in your game?
Yeah.
Or vice versa,
Yeah, I did do that once. That was before I moved over to running the show here, so it was my last campaign. But yeah, I made a little intro clip. It was when we were doing Rime of the Frost Maiden, and I made like an intro clip to play over when because at the beginning there's a big long DM intro text, and instead of doing that live, I made this video clip and showed that on the stream and to all the players while we were
that's cool
at the start.
Yeah, I really like stuff like that for immersion. And it also showcases, the types of things that people are capable of. It's not impossible to do a lot of these things. It just takes time and practice, and really does take some time, dedication to doing a lot of these things that you see online. And really no magic to it. It's just a lot of work and a lot of patience and that sort of thing. The other thing I wanted to bring up was these 2D20 system.
Yes.
That is in-house, right? That's
yes.
all.
Yeah. So Fallout, Dune, and Star Trek, the 3 D20 games that we currently have. I'm waiting for someone to say I left one out, but I didn't.
Because Conan was
not in-house, and Conan has been discontinued by Modifius. Yeah, Modifius lost the rights to Conan a while ago.
Okay. So we can keep the Conan we have. We just aren't going to get any updates.
No, we're not getting anything new, and I think we are required to delist it from sale this year sometime. But if you already own Conan, it's on your account. You have it. That is the nice thing about Fantasy Grounds, is that we don't take stuff away from you if you've already bought it.
Right, and that's nice. I wrote an article about the self-contained program. So there's a lot of pros and cons, but I think one of the pros is that your system is self-contained. You like you said, you can't really take that away. You just won't get any updates or any new DLC, but you can still use it, and as long as your computer's running, I mean, you'll be able to take it and run with it until your computer crashes or something like that. But nonetheless, I think it's a good way to go. As far as keeping your content, and also kind of keeps the privacy a little bit more.
Yeah.
And it also makes it harder to have people from the outside bootlegging and cracking and that sort of thing. So it protects the intellectual property. So if there's publishers out there that are concerned about that, I think.
And I would say the other nice thing that I think is really shown off with the 2D20 and 5e, because 5e was also an in-house rule set. That was the last one before we did 2D20. Is it allows us to really use that to showcase new features and new things.
Right. And I know Dominic's done a really good job, and it's nice to have him immersed into the community, because he asks for feedback and he talks to us, and he'll come into our community and ask questions about the rule set. And he does, like, him and I have done a couple shows together regarding some of the stuff when he has the time to do it. And then we did like a little Fallout show together, and that little things like that is really important to have that connection between the developer, the customer, and the publisher. And that's one of the things I really enjoy about running the Fantasy Grounds Academy, because that's really what we're trying to do, is kind of connect the dots and get everyone together, and not just have, okay, these are the buyers, these are the sellers, and these are the makers. Yeah, I want all that together if I can, and it really makes for a better community, and it also helps people decide, what they want to invest in and what they want to develop. So it's not just, maybe they'll like this, or no, that stuff sucks. They didn't talk to anyone about that, or something, Yeah, but I also like Alien too.
Yeah, Alien is. I have not gotten to use Alien yet. I was going to run a game around Halloween last year, and I just got too busy with everything going on. So
same here.
But eventually, I'm going to get to Alien, and Alien is Free League, I believe. But I think Modifius did some, because I know when I talked to them, Modifius did something on Alien, I think.
Yeah, they probably helped them, because they do get along. they're kind of like indirect partners in a
Yeah.
sense. The other thing is, would be remiss to not address Pathfinder. I mean, they've really stepped up their game in the last couple years. I was a little bit concerned when they first released Pathfinder 2 because they were still Fantasy Grounds anyways was still kind of bringing in Pathfinder Classic Edition stuff. And then it felt like it was kind of like left to the side. And then D&D came out, and then the release patterns just kind of didn't line up very well. But a lot of effort went into the 5th edition. But as soon as Pathfinder 2, well, actually Starfinder is what really started it. But once Pathfinder 2 came out, I noticed quite a difference in the development and the changes to the rules that they did. So it's a pretty healthy system, and I've read some pretty positive reviews lately. And I've seen
I just used Pathfinder 2 last week, actually, last Friday.
Yeah, it's nice. I do have some content, and I think it's worth checking out if you haven't already. And I think that Paizo's a pretty decent company, and they've sold out of all their books now lately.
Yeah, I know. And I believe I just read on Twitter that they were like, "Oh, we just put in another big order to send out to local game stores, and that's also sold out." Mine, you can't buy. Huge. You can only buy the mini-sized core rules at my game store. If you want to buy the core rule book full size, you can't do it. Right.
So they're doing really well. I'm happy for them, and I look forward to seeing what they release later on. But sometimes it takes a crisis or a catastrophe to get some good out of the world. But unfortunately, that's how things work. But it's definitely a good alternative to fantasy role playing games. I think that. I don't know a lot about the rules, but I have played around with it. I did some character creation. I really think there's a home for it.
Yeah. With Pathfinder 2, I think it's interesting is that it is technically more complicated. I'm specifically talking combat than D&D 5e. But for whatever reason, it actually felt like combat ran a lot faster than any time I've ever ran a 5e combat.
I think because you have so many options that it's funner, so you don't notice the time.
It is that, but on the stream I did, I believe it was Brad brought it up. Like, wow, this combat is going like really fast. Like we're just getting through it, and it's not turning into a slog. And anyone that plays, 5e knows that after round like 3, combat starts to get a little boring.
It can, yeah. I think part of
that doesn't have to, but it can get there really quickly.
Yeah, I think part of that is your familiarity with the rule set and the tools for Fantasy Grounds. I think if you get that down and you practice, that will cut down your time by at least a quarter, if not a third. Yeah. So if you spend normally an hour and you could shave that down to 45 minutes, that's really good. So that comes with time and practice, and it really depends on how you perceive and use the rules too. So it's a good system. I would try out Pathfinder 2 any day. I already have the core books. There's a couple more I might want to pick up, but
if I'm ever doing another Pathfinder stream, I'll ask if you want to come and play a character on it.
Sure, I'd love to. Also, I'd like to say that I saw there was a Humble Bundle out there that doesn't necessarily translate into Fantasy Grounds, but it will definitely help you with rule sets.
And I believe if it's giving you PDFs, you might get the discount.
Yeah. Well, this was more for like other publishers. Wasn't so much for Paizo. This was I switched kind of.
Oh yeah, I know that Paizo's done a bunch of those, so I was just assuming that they were doing another.
Yeah, that's true though. If Paizo does it, you're likely to get some kickbacks or not kickbacks, but. Yeah. The other one's Kobold Press. So if you really like their products, they have like a really good Humble Bundle going on right now.
Well, now you're gonna make me go look at it because
now he's gonna want to buy it.
Well, my thing is that like if it's PDFs, I'll just get the Fantasy Grounds ones. But I love still having physical books.
Yeah.
And I want to see, because I know that the Paizo one that they did, the last Paizo one they did, included a couple of physical books, and I picked that one up.
Yeah. And the other thing I was thinking about lately in regards to games and stuff is that get more awareness over to the Fantasy Grounds sponsored events, like the game days, organized play. We got the David Middleton Memorial Con coming up. You guys don't know, David used to be a employee and he passed recently. So he
Yeah,
in
can we
his
get
honor.
the dates of that dropped in chat again, and the link to sign up for that, by the way?
Yeah, so you want to sign up on Warhorn first. I think some people go there and go, "Oh crap, I can't do anything." So just sign up an account there, and then go back to that link and go to it and sign up for whatever events you can make. And just
February
keep in
4th.
mind your time. Yeah, February 4th is Saturday, and remember that it's a volunteer thing. It's not a big professional high stake game thing where it's just a good time is for you to be able to check out Fantasy Grounds and the community. And it also honors David's life. So without him, we probably wouldn't have this Fantasy Grounds Academy and a bunch of other things that are in place now. He really helped kickstart the Fantasy Grounds community, and I'll miss him a lot. So show up on that if you can, or run games. We really need a couple more games for sure.
I might take a look if I can run something. The last time I tried to run something at a event, it didn't go over so well, but I might at least hop in on a game or two.
Yeah. One of the things about doing things on weekends, which is something that I've suffered from in the academy, is like I used to try to run events on weekends. Unfortunately, most people are running their own personal games.
Yeah.
So it's really difficult to.
Yeah,
and
that's
also
when a lot of people's home games is
correct.
On the weekends, because that's when most
exactly.
people's like friends are free.
Exactly. And then the other thing is holidays is kind of a bad one too.
Yeah.
A lot of
Luckily
people
for me,
out of town.
I can show up to this and call it work by saying it's PR.
Funny. Yeah, that's a good excuse for sure. But generally, though, the conventions are pretty easy to. Once you get an account on Warhorn, it's pretty simple to sign up, and you can communicate with the game master through the messaging there. Pretty accommodating.
Yeah.
I haven't heard any complaints except for my games.
Except for complaining about me. Oh, that's sad.
Yeah.
Nobody complains about you, Leroon. I've never heard a bad thing about you.
I have. But I'm glad that person told me, because sometimes you need to be corrected, and if I'm out of line, I don't mind accepting that, because sometimes I make mistakes, and I don't always do the right thing. So it's nice to have other people helping me and saying, "Hey, look, I think you're wrong," and I don't mind being wrong. That's part of life. You grow from that. So, anyways. So the 2D20 Modifius stuff is pretty cool, awesome. I do like Free League stuff like Alien, Symborum, those things, and then Pathfinder Paizo products. Those are incredible. You've ever seen all the map packs that come out every week? That's crazy.
Yeah, being at the company, I hear about them constantly. We've got so many. There's so many great, and they're all great. That's the thing, is that they're all incredible. And there's like 2 a week or more, and so yeah.
And if you ever use Pathfinder Paizo products, not only is the artwork cool, but their maps are a little bit more VTT friendly. So if you're trying to put a grid on something like that, it's way easier than some of these other painted.
I'm still praying for the day that publishers finally realize, just give us gridless maps and then tell us what the grid size is supposed to be.
Yeah, that
just
really
helps. Give us gridless maps and then tell us we need a grid of 50 pixels by 50 pixels.
Yeah, just tell us the scale, and we'll do it. Go from there. I think some of the things that we run into with maps, especially from publishers, is they're more for PDF for looks or for printing.
Yeah, and a lot of them I know make them so you can print them out and. So I even did that. I've got a big old map from the Lost Mine of Fandelver that I printed out and glued to a poster board that's just sitting right there.
Nice. So it's the maps are something that you do want sometimes, but you don't always have to have a map. But it's nice when you do
I
have
do.
maps.
I'm a map. I'm a map
Me too.
fiend.
Yeah, I'm a map snob too, but I really like good decent maps. But there are occasions where you really don't need a map. You can just use an image and put a grid on it. You know, it doesn't even
Yeah.
have to be a tactical map. But
Hmm.
having maps that are virtual tabletop friendly really helps. And I think that Paizo does a good job at whatever their style is. It seems to work really well,
Yeah.
and it lines up pretty well with the grid system. But when you get other publishers, sometimes their lines are not perfect because it's painted. It's not.
Yeah, I was gonna say. So I think I'm not sure. I don't work for Paizo. I haven't even talked to anyone at Paizo because they don't want to come on the show. I'm hoping to change that because I really want to get a Paizo person on. But I think they actually use a one of those like dungeon map creation things because they're very well lined up. They have the look of like this was put together with a program and not
Right.
Something hand painted, which does lend well to a VTT.
Yeah, it does. You ever used a map that's oriented diagonally or has a lot of circles and stuff? They're not easy to put line of sight on those
No.
or any of the occluders. So if you're going to make maps, definitely give us some 90 degrees if you can.
Give us some
really
nice
helps.
90-degree angles. Those are my favorites.
Yep. The other thing is like the color contrast and how it looks and compared to the tokens. Like sometimes your tokens get washed out, and that's generally why the maps are a little bit lower quality than the tokens, because they want the tokens to stand out so you can see them. It really helps to have a ring or a circle around it so you can kind of see it, and especially if you're old like me, your eyes, it's kind of hard to differentiate between the tokens and the map,
I always put a pretty harsh like silver stone border around any tokens that I put together.
Yep.
Just because
there's a lot of really beautiful assets out there. The only thing is like David actually showed me the technique that he used for those to stand out, because if you're going to use top-down tokens, the 3D ones, you put a base on it, and it's kind of like a semi-transparent base, like a light gray.
Oh yeah,
and it helps it so it looks more like a mini, and it actually stands out on the map instead of blending in.
Oh, that's cool.
So a lot of people have done that. He's not the only one, but he was the one that first. He actually gave me his little base. I still have the file. It's just a PNG file that's semi-transparent, and it has rounded edges, and it looks kind of polished. So it's kind of nice.
Now I'm actually just gonna go take because I've got a bunch of mini bases from some Warhammer. I'm just gonna go take a bunch of photos of those bases.
Oh, there you go.
And just that way they have an actual like plastic bit looking base. That's kind of a cool idea.
Yeah, I thought about making bases for the Fantasy Grounds Forge. Even though it's not really a token per se, you can make token bases so they're themed for different biomes and different rule sets. So that way people can mesh them together with their tokens.
Daddy Cat, thank you for the Twitch subscription. Thank you so much.
All right, cool.
And yeah, just to remind everyone, if you have any questions for the FGA, for the Fantasy Grounds Academy, absolutely drop them in chat, or you, as I mentioned, use the little channel points at the bottom of the screen and drop them in there. Yeah.
So one of our reactions to all the stuff that's going on now is to diversify our rule sets and to promote and help people that want to learn other rule sets, and to try to get more help in the community, because there's never enough volunteers. So that's what we're doing internally. At least that's my goal, and it always has been my goal to be a diverse community. Like when we first started, it was kind of like perception was we're a big D&D club, and it's not true. We definitely welcome other rule sets.
All right. Because, of course, from Bane TBC, question for Layroon, how long do you think it's going to be before we get a pizza button?
That's a good question. I have my own Stream Deck now, and I have been looking for that pizza button. And only thing I could see is I follow links, and then I go through and I notice that they're broken. Like the person that was developing the app or the functionality doesn't work anymore. And then there's security things where it actually links to your Domino's account, so that could be a problem for hackers. So my
don't get your Domino's account hacked. People will start buying pizzas on your dime.
Exactly. Or don't store your credit card information on their website.
You could just not do that.
Yeah, that helps.
That is the safest way to get around it. Gadget Freak, thank you for the follow on Twitch. Bane,
I would love it.
Is just the most consistent with the pizza button.
Oh yeah.
Even occasionally comes over to my personal streams when I'm playing like Monster Hunter or something, and we'll just be like, "So how about the pizza button?"
Yeah,
just dedicated to the bit.
I wish I had one because I'm hungry right now.
I am too. I'm kind of thinking like now would be the perfect time, especially if we could get it set up where I could hit a button and order pizza for both of us. One be sent to your house, one be sent to mine.
Be cool. Or Uber Eats would even be cooler.
That could be anything. But I don't know. There's something about pizza and TTRPGs that just goes well together.
It kind of goes together. Yeah. I was thinking some Indian food would be good right about now.
That would be good too. I do love that. Wow.
Or Thai food.
Love both of those. Belmorte, thank you for subscribing. The Ship of Fools, thank you for subscribing. Double Clutch, thank you for subscribing 2 months in a row. Moss20's D&D, thank you for subscribing. And Drake Takes, thank you for subscribing 5 months in a row.
Nice. A lot of
and then Craigson, thanks for the follow.
A lot of good things happening in our intermediate community.
Wow, imagine Belmorte not being subbed. That is kind of funny. That is a little funny.
That is funny. So if you guys haven't met Belle, she's a very active community member and also helps with the social media. That's her job. And she supports with Brad and Bryce here.
And she's also the moderator on this channel.
Exactly. I wanted to say, I've said this to Brad a couple times, but and Doug, that you guys are doing a really good job with changing the perception and the look of Fantasy Grounds, because before it was kind of meager. There wasn't a whole lot of attention put into marketing, streaming, and that such. I mean, Dave did a pretty good job, but he was so busy that it was hard for him to keep up with everything. And then there really wasn't much there. Nothing's perfect, but it really does help the image, and it does look good, and it's starting to really shape up. Like if you guys haven't noticed, the launcher's changed, the website's changing.
The loading screen is a little different now.
Yep, the logo branding is changing. That's a lot of work. Like to rebrand is not easy. That is it takes months actually.
Yeah. Well, that's why we're doing it. That's why we're doing it slowly rather than because we could have. There was some discussion about do we just like wait and do all of this and then rebrand all at once. But I do think that we're going what I would consider the better route of let's just do it slowly, ease people into it, and then you keep every time you update, you get something a little new.
Like when the launcher first dropped, I was kind of like, eh. But it was just because I was so used to the older look that I've just felt like, oh man. But now that I've been with it for a month or two, it's not that bad. It's good. It's decent. It's just another thing to look at. Yep. What I really like is the little tips on the bottom too.
Yes, those are always nice. Gotta love me some loading screen tool tips. Jinxed Rogue, thank you for subscribing, and Quagson, thank you for subscribing. I believe we have a hype train going.
Nice.
So, I don't know. Keep it up.
Yeah, really. I actually subscribe to this channel. There are very few I would actually support, and I just use my Prime subscription. So if you guys forget about that, you can check to see if you have.
I always forget about mine until it's like I'll miss like a whole month, and then I'll be like, oh yeah, I have that. I should go give that to one of my friends or something.
Exactly. But it's kind of like wasted money in a sense, but it is what it is. There's no reminder, so you got to kind of check that once in a while. The other thing is, I think that Smiteworks is doing a pretty good job in their stance with where they want to be. So if you guys are frustrated with slow releases and changes taken for a while, it's just part of the nature of running the business, especially a small business. And when I first started using Fantasy Grounds, I was pretty impatient and really frustrated. But
I
after I got
know
to,
I had the same right when Unity was announced, but before it was out, I was so impatient.
oh yeah,
When I was still
and
on Classic and I'd see like the occasional videos of Unity, I'm like, I need it now.
yeah, that was a thing for a while there. But I think the careful route actually pays off in the long
It
term.
does.
In the short term, you might lose some momentum and you might get some people to leave and go somewhere else. But I think for the most part, the people that really appreciate Fantasy Grounds and the community will stick around, and that's not a bad problem to have actually. But yeah, the slow boat to I wouldn't say perfection, but I'd say the slow boat to tried and true, you know, development is definitely important in a small company, especially because you can make one move and not be successful at all. So,
Mm-hmm.
if you go too fast, you can't use the platform or it becomes unstable or it just becomes where you have to rewrite the whole thing. And that's not very good balance there. So I think that slow approach really helps the balance
Yeah.
and it keeps everything kind of going without one or the other sacrificing because that's generally what happens. You end up putting a lot more development time in a new platform, hiring new people, then you got to charge more, and then you end up charging again for basically the same program.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing is like if you update too much at once, it becomes unstable and you can't use it.
Yeah.
And then so there's a lot of balance points there that I think that most of us don't think about that
No,
when we're getting
I
frustrated.
work for the company and I'm still like, but I want the new stuff now.
Exactly. Yeah. I feel that way sometimes. Like I really want the audio thing, but I understand the back end of it, like the licensing and the
Yeah.
agreements and all that stuff. So, that's just a consumer thing.
Yeah.
That's
Well, we
not
have
me.
a few others that I'm not going to talk about because I'm not Doug, but like I know that
Yep.
they're coming soon, and just every week I'm just like, is this the week that we're gonna say it? Nope. Okay.
Yep.
I'll wait. I'll
And
wait another week.
I've seen a lot of people ask, well, how do we know what's coming out? Well, if you go to the laboratory on the Fantasy Grounds forums and read through there, you can
Mm-hmm.
see kind of what they're testing. And
Yeah.
that's a pretty good preview of what they might be releasing. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to come out, but it is a pretty good, start. And you can actually participate in that if you have a separate machine and you want to try out Fantasy Grounds. I recommend just doing that and trying it out, the new features. I'm really excited about the death indicator thing that was mentioned. That is something that's coming out in February if everything goes right. I think mid-February was the
Thank you
ETA.
for dropping the one that I was just talking about.
Oh,
I didn't know
sorry.
though that it was posted. I know that
Yeah.
we talked about it at some point, but I wasn't sure, so I was very much avoiding talking about it. But yeah, I know that it's sometime soon, and I'm just waiting for the day when I hear John say, "Hey, it's on the test channel now."
Yeah, it is. It's on the test channel. That's
Oh,
how I
is it?
found out.
Okay,
Yeah. He
perfect.
mentioned it, and it's been there only for a few days. So I don't blame you for not knowing that.
That's
But
why it probably got put up after the meeting, but before now.
so that's one of the things I've done for myself and for the community is I'll read through that stuff. The forums, even though the forums are kind of older and they have a kind of a weird format to it, I still read those and look at problems that people are having with
Yeah.
Fantasy Grounds, like in the bug reports and also in the not ask the experts, but at the House of Healing,
Uh huh.
and also in the Ask the Experts in our community. We have a similar type Q&A thing, but it helps to know or to see the other types of problems, and then even if there's an answer for it, so that you can go, oh, I saw that problem before. I know how to help you. That sort of thing. I also look at Reddit quite a bit and try to direct people from Reddit to the forums or the Discord because it's kind of remote. I mean, even though it is part of the community, it's still out there a ways. And not everyone wants Facebook or not everyone wants Twitter. I understand that, but the main resources are the forums page and the main Discord.
Yeah.
And everything else is kind of remote or tertiary to that. So
yeah, if you
it's important to know that.
There's a good segue right there. If you are having any troubles with Fantasy Grounds or just need to learn stuff, make sure you're on both our and Fantasy Grounds Academy's Discord.
Yep.
We've both got tons of people willing to
Yep.
help you out at any time.
Right. And then the Atlassian portal takes a little getting used to, but that does have a ticketing system. So if you have something major and you need a ticket created so they can follow up on it and that sort of thing, that's another way to do it. And Atlassian actually has 90% of the information that most people ask about.
Yeah, it does.
And it's amazing because I'll sit there and try to explain something to someone, and then I go, crap, you know what?
I'm just
I
going to
should
go
have
check
just
the wiki.
linked. Yeah, I should have just linked them to the article. That would have saved me a whole lot of bluster and blubber. And
Derek puts a lot of his time into writing those. Also, I liked your segue into making me have to do my job by telling him to go write tickets.
That's funny.
You're like, dang it, Bryce, you need to start doing your job more.
But writing tickets is probably not fun, but it is part of the business model, and it's helpful, and it also helps bug reports and development. And the other thing is that Atlassian, you can actually print your own manuals. So if there's sections of the Atlassian that you want, but you don't want to print everything, there's a way that you can incorporate pieces of the Atlassian into a PDF. So you can actually print your own documentation for Fantasy Grounds. So if you only like a certain rule set, you can print the base stuff and then that rule set. So it's pretty flexible.
Yeah.
And then it's not set in stone necessarily. So if you see something wrong or maybe it needs to be added or missing, let someone know.
Yeah.
And they'll put it in there.
That right there is a perfect time to write in a ticket, because then I will give that right to Derek and be like, you missed something. Or something changed. Honestly, usually when something like that happens, that's how it used to work, and then something changed and we hadn't updated it yet.
And that goes true for content. Like when you build a video about character creation, 6 months later, you better do another one.
Well, we just showed off the new character wizard. So that old character wizard video is in a few months going to be outdated. The new character wizard, though, I know that you were in the stream for a little bit. I don't know if you watched the whole thing, but it's looking really good.
Mm-hmm. And I really liked it. I did see most of it, and I did like the changes, and it looks a little less crazy, like it's a little bit more focused.
Yeah, and that's what I like about it. That's what I really like about it. You think it's on the test now? I need to, well, not today because I have a game, but I'm going to need to load the test and see what's actually on there.
Yeah, I prefer to use test on a different machine. I don't like messing with my main campaign games, and usually for development and stuff, I try to use another instance of Fantasy Grounds if possible. Not everyone has that option, but it is something that I do if I want to get into the beta.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. I am, I don't know. I like to live on the edge. I like to. You know that I have almost lost. Not this current show, but season 1 of my show Fabled Dice. I almost lost the campaign file for that 3 different times in a row.
Oh my god!
And I never did.
That's scary.
Keep backups. Keep backups.
Yes. Just wait till you have a paid game and you can't get to it.
Yeah, I know, right? Well, that was my lesson, to keep backups. Yes. So this is my lesson to all of you. Yeah. Back up your campaign folders.
Backups are simple. You just get a thumb drive and drag it over to the thumb drive. You don't have to do the entire program. You can just do your campaign folder.
That's all you need.
And then what I usually do is if I had to do a complete reinstall of Fantasy Grounds, I would take all the campaign folders and the artwork and the tokens out of there, and then reinstall Fantasy Grounds and then put those back in, and update it, of course, and then put all that stuff back in and update it again, just in case there's been updates in between. That way you don't get corruption and mismatched data stuff.
Yeah, the first time it happened to me was I had to do a Windows reset on my computer, and it's specifically about where the Fantasy Grounds directory is stored. It's not in the normal program files, which a Windows reset doesn't touch. So it absolutely did touch them, despite saying we won't touch any of your programs. So that is a warning right there. If you're going to do a Windows reset, backup Fantasy Grounds is at least your campaign folder. Yep.
Another thing is the base thing about Fantasy Grounds that most people will soon find out if they haven't already is that you got to put your time in. You definitely want to put some practice into it. Not everyone has that luxury, though. There's some people that can only do a couple hours a week. But I guarantee you that more time you put into it, whether it be gaming or GMing or making content, you'll learn the system, and that's really the best way to learn, is to actually put your time in. And not so much an easy button, and in most cases. I mean, we try our best to help ease the frustration and such, because that's kind of what we were founded on. But the main thing is putting your time in. That's really what it comes down to. And there's a lot of people say, "Oh, I shouldn't have to put in, X amount of hours." I said, "Well, really in anything you do,
just even just learning a role playing game, you do."
Yep. And it's a lifetime hobby. It's not something that you would just pick up. Well, some people do, but I mean, you don't want to spend thousands of dollars and then use it for like a month and then never see it again.
Yeah,
that's kind of a weird thing.
All right. I'm not going to say anything because I'm guilty of that with Warhammer. Because I'll be like, I'm really going to get into Warhammer, and I'll go buy like 2 boxes of minis, and then I will finish them and then not ever actually play a game of Warhammer 40K.
Yeah, that does happen.
So I am guilty of that, so never mind.
Yeah, but I mean, that's just an example. But some people don't do that, but there
only
are
two. It's 2 at a time, but then occasionally. Also, you know how expensive those are, Paulette?
Yes, they're very expensive.
They're too much. Games Workshop, you're killing me.
So that really the whole
stuff, though.
Bottom line with Fantasy Grounds Academy is just really trying to help you guys out, and we're always looking for volunteers. We have a cycle where people come and go. There's turnover because it is volunteer. There's no pay. That sort of thing. I mean, we do have patron and little things here and there, but we don't really charge for anything. We don't intend to either.
I would say that is probably the good and bad side of being entirely volunteer. Is the high turnover rate obviously is never fun when you have a couple of really good teachers, but also the flip side of that is you get a lot of different perspectives into it, because everyone I've ever talked to uses Fantasy Grounds just slightly differently. And everyone plays the same rule set slightly differently.
That's right. And the other thing is, by helping people, I've learned a lot. And then I've met a lot of really interesting people in the industry too. I mean, I've showed Fantasy Grounds to some pretty high profile people, just because we're offering the service. So these are authors and game developers and publishers and stuff. So I like helping them out because it gives them an insight into how Fantasy Grounds works. And I think I try my best to best represent what Fantasy Grounds can do, and not just, here it is. I'm really focusing on content creation lately, and hoping to inspire people to kind of make their own stuff occasionally. And you got to mix it in with your current store-bought or your official content. And not to mention the forage. There's tons of stuff on the forage. There's
amazing
tons of stuff. Yeah, it's really useful. Like, there's a lot of good tokens and maps. There's extensions. There's
whole rule sets.
Yes,
there's whole rule sets. Currently, although it's changing soon, Cyberpunk Red is entirely a forge rule set.
Yep. If you guys haven't tried the rule set wizard and you're into creating your own rule set, you want to look into that. It is a paid program, I believe. But if you watch some of Damned's videos, Damien, he uses that quite a bit, and he really pushes and advocates, for people that are into that, to use that particular tool to help make that job a little easier instead of starting from scratch. Because most people end up, taking apart extensions to kind of see how it works, and that's one way to do it.
That's what I did.
Yep.
I made a hacked together rule set it's a game called Carbon 2185. It is a cyberpunk conversion of 5e.
Nice.
And I ran a Christmas one shot with that right before I started here. But yeah, what I did for that is I basically took apart 5e to find the parts that were different and had to alter those.
Yeah, typically when you develop these rule sets, you got to get the dice to work, the character sheets. If you get those two things down, The rest of it is probably more cosmetic
Yeah.
and dice strings and stuff. But for the most part, it's the look of the platform, and that takes time because you got to make all the little graphics if you want to get that fancy. And then, of course, getting the character sheets right and the dice rolls. If you get all that stuff down, then the rest of it's probably a lot easier.
I'm gonna assume this came from Paulette, but man, I think that is the best ad we've had ran in Twitch chat. And it's,
what's that?
Want a hot new hat like Lay Runes? Check out the new Fantasy Ground swag t-shirt, hoodies, hats, and more. Oh, and he's got the shirt too. Wait, that's one of the newer ones too.
Yeah, it is. I did buy out some of the older, or not buy out, but I purchased some of the older ones for nostalgia. Yeah. But I bugged Brad and Paulette about this. I said, "What about the new logo on the shirt?" Oh, we're working on it. So they were a step ahead of me, but I went out and got it, and it was like $20-$30 with shipping. And of course, I got my size is fat, so or XXL or whatever, XXL times 8 or whatever.
Looks good though. I really like the new logo. It's got a little bit more detail, a little bit more color onto it. Yeah,
I really like the pack that Brad developed for the decals, because that's really cool. They turned out really nice. I recognize some of the assets, but most of that looks pretty custom, and it definitely helps. And I actually have a request. If anyone's watching in Smiteworks, is besides you and Paul.
I was gonna say I'm here, but I probably don't count for your request.
No, you do. But I would like to see a biome-based themes and have Josh and Brad work on those together. So like they kind of have a water one, but it would be kind of nice to have desert.
Yeah, like a forest, a
forest.
Swamp.
Yeah, that's a real basic request, and I think that's doable. And I really think that Josh probably already has most of the assets anyways, so it probably wouldn't take as long to develop as it would from scratch. Yeah. So that would be cool to have some of those.
Let's just be like the exact second that Josh pops into the stream and hears that.
I'm already working on it.
That is not a confirmation.
Yeah.
I always have to add that when someone like jokes about a new feature. I have to add that's not a confirmation because they'll take it and run with it.
Yeah, I like when they say, "When's that coming out?" So when it comes out.
Soon.
We don't know.
Trademark symbol.
Yeah, soon could be 3 months from now.
Ruby the Lazy Goblin, thank you for following.
Yeah, recognize some of these people. That's great, guys. Thanks for coming by, and I'd really like to thank all of you guys for supporting Fantasy Grounds Academy and for Smiteworks support too. It really helps to grow the community. I think this is one of the things that Brad and Bryce and Bell do well is they try to advocate for Fantasy Grounds, and they definitely help build the community, and it looks good too. So yep,
that's my goal. Community,
right? And we're the people that use the stuff and buy it.
Yeah, well, so I am too.
Yeah,
so I think that's the thing that sometimes gets mixed is that all of us here at Smiteworks are also users of Fantasy Grounds.
Right. Very few people just develop and don't use it. Yeah, I don't think there's very few people that do that.
Yeah, all of us use it regularly, so we're not here in like the high castle making our thing and then sending it out and never touching it. Like we are all users and fans of the program as well.
Yeah, I think one solution to getting more guests on the show for Fantasy Grounds
is we need more pyrotechnics. You're right.
That's right, and makeup. But the
well, I can do that. I can't do the pyrotechnics.
Yep. But I think getting them into a private session with just showing them the platform before you do a show and show them the power of the platform, because I think what their thing is like they either haven't used it yet, so they don't really have anything to add to the conversation, depending on the topics, of course.
Yeah.
Or they just don't understand, So I think that would help. That's my suggestion anyways. And that's
I will
something I've
take
done.
Your suggestion.
Yep. And if you want, I'll help you woo over Paizo because they need to be on the show.
Yeah, they do. Well, if you can help with that, that'd be great.
I did one show with them, and I can tell you after the stream like what happened on that. So, yep.
Yeah, because I would love to get someone to talk Pathfinder and Starfinder and all of that.
And they
those
have
are big,
the Nexus.
big parts of the gaming market. Are those games?
Oh yeah, and they have the Nexus and the Affinity or Infinity, which is their portal, so you can make stuff for their rule set. So, there's a lot of stuff coming down the pipe. I think that it's going to improve, and once they release this new Orc rule set thing, I think it's really going to take off.
Yeah, I'm excited to see where it goes, and I've been loving playing games in Pathfinder, so we're gonna do it more. In fact, might eventually start up a dedicated show of just a Pathfinder actual play, because I've been enjoying it a lot, and I want to see where Pathfinder can go.
Yeah, it's a good looking rule set. Martin and just whoever's helping him did a real bang up job on it, and it's really professionally polished looking and doesn't have a lot of problems.
Yeah, so I always like rule sets that look just like the book. Like
yes.
when you open it up and you look at it and you're like, it looks like I'm reading the book off of my shelf. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I play 5e with the Wizards theme instead of the default 5e theme.
And if you looked at the approach that Doug had put in with the Dragonlance content, it's kind of like a test, but instead of using story entries, we wanted to use the reference manual as your actual content, because it looks better, and you have a search field. You have a search field, and you could still bookmark it, and they actually made it so you could unlock it, so that's not cordoned off. And it just looks good. And if they do change to that format and they place a button on the desktop there, it's going to be a lot easier. It won't be buried underneath the interface. So it'd be a nice welcome addition. At first, I was a little resistant to it. I was like, nah, I don't like that.
I'm going to be honest. I'm still a little bit, but for one really specific and really stupid reason.
What's that?
It's the layout of how I run games in Fantasy Grounds and I send it to the stream. I stuff my story entries in the top corner, and I can't make reference manual entries that small.
Yeah, I understand. But in regards to game flow, it changes things.
Yes, agreed. In game flow and just general reading, the reference manual is so much better.
It's easier on the eyes. You can see everything. You got images.
Just being able to search is amazing.
Huge.
Because I know I use that because I'm the guy that always forgets what conditions do in especially in 5e, where they're like, oh, I'm grappled and restrained. All right, what does that mean? And how are those two different? And every time I have to go and look it up. So it's really easy to just open up the reference manual for the player's handbook and type grappled.
Yeah, what I did for that sort of thing is I made myself a background image. Instead of art, I used an image, and it had all that stuff on there.
Oh, nice.
So when you're looking at it's kind of an eyesore, but when you're looking at it, or even if it's just an image that you have saved in your toolbar, it just has that bold print. Like, this is what all these things do. But the key is to know what it does in Fantasy Grounds.
Yeah.
So does it do advantage? Does that you need to know what the translation is.
Yeah, and that's because I was waiting for someone to be like, well, it handles all the conditions for you. You just drop the condition onto them, which is true.
Right.
But I want to know exactly what it's doing.
Yeah, like how does that translate?
Letting the program do its thing and then me going, all right, well, why was that at disadvantage or whatever?
Right. But exactly. That's how you learn the rule set too, is when you make those connections.
Drake Take has just informed me there is a resizer extension on the Forge, so thank you for that, and I will be checking that out. I am now fully on board with the reference manual as the main tool for story now.
Yeah, I was really pissed. I was like, what? Like, I was not happy initially.
Sorry, yeah.
But it's actually not that bad, and it's pretty cool, actually. So,
it does look really good. They look so much better.
Yeah, and the story entries are a little bit vague because you can't embed images into it. And
you have to click to pop the image up. And
correct. And that makes the interface a little clunkier. So I think
because you're looking at what looks like a page out of a book, but to see any pictures, you have to, totally.
Yeah, it is. And I think that's one step closer to refining the interface. It's one of the main concerns that people have with the platform is the interface. There's a few sticking points that most people bring up that when they're feeling down about Fantasy Grounds, and that's one of them, is the interface. So I think that's a step in the right direction as far as making it more accessible and less clunky and that sort of thing.
So Drake, are you saying that my problem is that I don't complain enough? Is that what I need to do to just get the features that I want implemented by an extension dev? Is just be like, man, I really wish that it did this. And then it'll just be there.
I'm gonna bust you too. I'm gonna say you're not putting in enough time. That's usually what my complaint is. If I see someone complaining about Fantasy Grounds, I said, well, how much time have you put into it?
I definitely put in enough time.
I'm just giving you crap. I
know.
That is one of the things I mentioned, though.
Yeah, it does. I mean, but it's not wrong. Like with anything, it takes time. Everything takes time to learn. What is the saying? You're not truly a master until you've put in 10,000 hours.
Some people like that Steam app where it shows you how many hours you put in. But are those actually hours of you doing something, or are you just staring at the screen? You know what I mean? Like, are you building content? Are you running a game? Or are you just looking through stuff? But all that stuff adds up. So the more you're exposed to it, the better.
Yeah. All right. Well, so we are over our time now. So I think, unfortunately, we're gonna have to let you go, Leyrune. But so I guess why don't you just drop down where we can find you? Where are we gonna find you around the internet? Also, but first, hello, Celestian. And if you could pin reference manual pages in a map, you can't you? Yeah, you can. You can. I know you can because I've done it. You absolutely can.
Yeah.
At least in 5e, you for sure can because I was. So I was, just for some back, I was converting an adventure, and halfway through, I got tired of making a reference manual page and a story entry page. So I stopped making story entry pages and just did the rest in reference manual. And yes, you can pin them. You can, but it brings up the single page now. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
I get it.
Yep, that is a concern for sure, but I think they can figure something out. And that was a preliminary test, so that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to go to that. It's just kind of like a feedback type thing.
Yeah. Okay. I see what you mean, though. That is a good point.
Yep.
But yeah, so where can we find you? Where can we find the Academy?
I mean, if you haven't already, just search for Fantasy Grounds Academy. We have a website, all the social medias. We have our own Discord. We're linked in other communities. I mean, I don't know how you'd miss us if you've looked for help or anything to do with Fantasy Grounds. We're just as prolific as any other community. Do a lot of posting and stuff on behalf of Fantasy Grounds Academy. So YouTube, Reddit, I mean, everywhere.
Yep, and I know Instagram. That Bell's been getting your links posted, so we'll probably get another round of those. Or we just got another round of those, but they got broken up by the reference manual talk. Also, Zero Sum, thank you for the follow.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, so I guess beyond that, hey, I'll be back later tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern Time for Fabled Dice, my Dungeons & Dragons actual play stream. We're doing Wild Beyond the Witchlight, so if you like good, wacky, Feywild fun, come and hang out for that. As well as come back tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern for Josh's map and image creation stream. And then I will be back next Thursday for some more game prep stuff. So once again, our new game prep stream, which is on Thursdays, is an alternating host. So every week I switch off with Brad. So one week it's him, the next week it's me. So this week it is me again.
Well, if you guys ever need a sub, let me know.
I absolutely will keep you in mind. And Drake Takes his Killing Red Wizards on your table tonight. That is, it's very timely with the Red Wizards showing up in the D&D movie trailer, isn't it?
Yeah.
Very timely. We're going to go raid GM Jenkin, and I hope you all have a great afternoon. Also, remember Thursday game days, and come back next Friday for another Fantasy Grounds Fridays.
Bye-bye, folks.
And those there will be an ad for next week. It's N-World. Talking about Level Up 5e.
Cool. Bye, folks.